Welcome, everybody. I'm Heather Schrader, Program Manager of Student Outreach at HSVMA. Thank you for joining us for the final lecture in our Student Summer Lecture Series. We have opened this up to the public since Dr. Melissa Shapiro and her Piglet mindset and her star Piglet are very prominent on social media. So there are quite a few of us today. So I've got a few housekeeping items to go over first. If you are a new member of HSVMA, please check out our website and review the benefits of being a member. We have over 9,000 members worldwide, and were founded in 2008 as a forum for veterinary professionals and students to advocate for animals, educate, and serve animals in need. If you're a member of the animal welfare community, we do have an affiliate category that includes individuals who fall outside the professional categories of veterinary medicine, who are interested in supporting HSVMA and its mission. Our affiliates have access to our webinars and receive our newsletter for an annual donation of $50. During today's lecture, please type your questions in the Q&A function on your dashboard. Dr. Shapiro will address them at the end of the presentation. Just to avoid confusion, I have disabled the chat function for attendees, so please use the Q&A function. 24 hours after this lecture, you'll receive an email with my contact information if you have any questions and a link to a survey. We truly value your feedback, so please take a few moments to fill the survey out. You'll have the opportunity to enter into a raffle for a copy of Wildlife Care Basics for Veterinary Hospitals. Lastly, HSVMA has a COVID resource page that has up-to-date information and links pertaining to best practices during the pandemic. Now, without further ado, Dr. Melissa Shapiro is going to present special needs pets and educational outreach in today's veterinary profession. Welcome, Dr. Shapiro, and thank you so much for being here this evening.
Oh, are you on sharing? Okay, here we go. Hold on a sec. Okay. Hi, everybody. As I am Melissa Shapiro. Let me see. Okay, here we go. To introduce myself quickly, I am the mom to Piglet, which a lot of people are here because they know Piglet. So just so that you know, he's here too, in his blankie all wrapped up. He's going to be enjoying this from my lap. I am married to Warren Shapiro. I have 3 kids who are in their 20s, Rachel, Daniel, and Ellie. Mom to Piglet and 6 other rescued dogs, 1 rescued parakeet, and 2 very old rescued house sparrows. I've had a lifetime of disabled pets, which are pictured here. This is me with my first dog, Pretzel, who was blind. We had a deaf border collie. I had a very disabled sparrow. This is my parakeet now who has splayed legs. This is a blind bird. Piglet, this dog is deaf in 1 ear and she was diabetic, among others. I'm a veterinarian. I went to Purdue in Indiana, graduated a long time ago, went off to an internship at the Animal Medical Center and then internal medicine residency at Penn before I went out into private practice, started a house call practice also a very long time ago and have been doing that since. I'm an animal welfare advocate. I am the Connecticut state rep for the HSVMA, and I've been a member of the HSUS since I was a very young little kid. I have always loved to do educational outreach. I have gone to classrooms with dogs well before I had my own kids. I love talking to kids about animals in all different aspects of taking care of animals, animal welfare, and now I have Piglet with his Piglet Mindset educational outreach. Okay, that's me. So the goal and the reason for this webinar is that when I got Piglet a few years ago, my veterinary friends made it very clear that they thought I was pretty crazy to be taking in this very disabled dog on top of 6 other dogs that I had. And why we have 6 dogs is a long story. I never thought I would have that many dogs because we have a 2-dog max in our house. But it took me a little while to show my veterinary friends and some other friends and family just what was going on with my piglet project and why I wasn't as crazy as I was coming off as being in adopting yet another dog who was this disabled. So I've created this webinar because I want other veterinarians to understand, maybe they haven't met enough disabled animals or taken care of them themselves, to understand just the potential that these disabled special needs dogs, cats, birds, and others have. And then to also take into account, when they're caring for them, the people that are attached to them. So the webinar was originally created for students and veterinarians, but opening up the presentation to the public now gives me and us the opportunity for everyone to learn about these many disabled dogs and cats that I'm going to show in the presentation, so we can all collaborate, work together to improve the lives of disabled animals and the people who love them. Disabled special needs pets are everywhere. We see them in our own homes. They're sleeping in bed with us. Maybe we have a dog that became diabetic. We might have a dog that had a leg amputated. Our neighbors might. They're all over. Disabled doesn't mean deaf and blind like Piglet. Special needs doesn't mean a dog that needs, extensive care. Heart failure dogs need medication. Those are special needs. They aren't able to do everything that they could before, and now they're disabled special needs pets. Social media accounts are very popular now. We have one, as everybody knows, and so people see them on social media. There are viral videos. This is one of ours. We had a dodo video, we had 3 actually. This is the last of the 3 that we had. Their disabled animals are ambassadors for educational outreach. Here is Piglet in a class in Bridgeport, Connecticut, meeting Joseph, who's a blind student. There are events that are specifically dedicated to disabled pets. This is one, the Special Canine Games in Ohio, that we've gone to 2 times. Here's Piglet with 3 other deafblind dogs. And Wheels on Wall Street, which is an event, a fundraiser in New York City, which is a fundraiser for Lovey Loaves, which is a rescue group in Florida. Okay. So where do they come from? Who wants them? And why? Where do they come from? They come from in our homes. There are our own pets that become disabled or special needs, which I've already discussed. They are found in shelters. They're found everywhere where you would find a dog that is not disabled, or a cat that's not disabled, or a bird, or any other animal. We can find them dumped by breeders and mills when they have puppies or kittens that don't live up to what they wanted, that they can sell. That pet finder, adoption events, rescue groups. There are rescue groups that are dedicated to animals with specific disabilities, specific breeds that are born with certain disabilities. So who wants them and why? This is a really good question. Why would anybody choose to adopt an animal that needs such extensive care? And the answer is, some people are just drawn to it. Some people are disabled themselves, and they're identifying with an animal who is disabled similarly or otherwise. Vets, vet techs, medically oriented people feel that they have something to give extra to an animal that requires special medical care. And there are kind people who are inspired by a particular animal's story, or have met disabled animals either online or in person, that have inspired them to say, I want to help one of these animals. Oops. Okay. So can a profoundly disabled animal have a productive, meaningful, happy, quality life? And the answer, of course, is yes. There are some animals that have such severe disabilities that are not compatible with a good quality of life, but many, many that are deemed unfit to have a good quality of life actually are. In fact, my dog Piglet, when my husband was telling one of his friends who happened to be a breeder about Piglet, he was told that they would absolutely bring this dog to be euthanized because dogs like him do not have a good quality of life. And of course, anyone who knows Piglet, even back then, understands that that is just not the case. With proper accommodations and support, most of these animals will have a very happy life, exceed expectations, and even become ambassadors and inspirations for so many areas, including animal welfare, working with kids in school, and the whole gamut of possibilities. Okay. Special needs pet people, going into the people that care for them, accept the compromise, and they understand the limitations that their dog that's in a wheelchair isn't going to run through the woods with them without a leash. You know, they understand my dog Piglet isn't going to run after a ball in the park. He won't be able to see it and he won't be able to bring it back to me. But he does things that other dogs don't do, which is part of the whole thing of having special needs and disabled pets. So in the community, I've already alluded to this. These dogs and cats and others live with the people, they love the people, and they are loved in their own homes. But online and when they meet people out in public, they inspire others to face challenges with a positive attitude because that's what they're doing. They advocate for disabled people and animals. They set an example for children to accept, include, empathize, and be kind. They, and their people, of course, collaborate with nonprofit organizations that focus on disabled people. So these are two examples that we have worked with that are in our area. Daniela's Little Wish, which is an organization, Daniela is 12 years old and they bake cakes. She's been doing this since she was very young. They bake cakes and bring these cakes, birthday cakes, to children who are very, very disabled, chronically ill, and possibly even terminally ill. And Wolfgang and Company is an organization that employs young disabled adults baking dog treats and creating other dog products that they sell in a store. So they learn the production line aspects as well as the sales and communicating with customers. So where do these veterinarians fit into all of this? People with disabled pets come to their vets wanting understanding, compassion, and solid medical advice and care. They know that most people would never agree to take in the profoundly disabled pets like theirs. So when they go to the veterinarian, they want to be supported. Many vets are just not aware of the potential of the disabled animals and to have a good, productive quality life. So veterinarians go to school, we know how to treat illness, complications of some of these disabilities, like urinary tract infections in paralyzed dogs, or eye infections in double merle Australian Shepherds. But caring for them isn't the whole picture. We're treating a whole animal that has emotional and behavioral possibly issues that need to be accounted for, and the people that are caring for them. So they're looking for a balance between medical needs, logistics of taking care, safety, quality of life, and and the emotional aspects from the family members, and they want to be supported by their veterinarians. Veterinarians can learn about this and enjoy being part of the lives of and guiding their most devoted clients. So dilemmas of a veterinarian. Unfortunately, veterinarians do see many disabled animals in a day, in a week. and coming in with people who are concerned about their quality of life. As I just talked about Piglet and the breeder who said that he would have the dog euthanized, veterinarians are commonly presented with animals, puppies, kittens, that are born with some disability. And they are brought in with the request to have them euthanized because they don't want their lines to be spoiled. They don't want anyone to know that they bred a disabled animal, something that's defective. They don't believe that they can have a good quality of life. Maybe they just don't understand. Maybe they're worried about placing an animal into the wrong house where they feel that it's best not to go into that, you know, and risk an animal's being neglected. So vets have the option to euthanize when appropriate, and they also have the option to say no. And in this case here, this is a little dog called Chance. A breeder brought her in when she was 4 weeks old because she had elbow deformities on both sides, and her legs are kind of short and don't work very well. Go to the next slide. So here's a purebred Norfolk Terrier, 4 weeks old. Thankfully, the vet tech was standing by and said, "I'm going to take the dog. Will you give her to me?" And the breeder said, "Yes, but you can't tell anyone where she came from. You can't post anything on social media. No one can know that this dog had anything to do with my lines." So she said, okay. She took the dog home. The dog ended up being, of course, a wonderful dog, completely capable of moving around, didn't like a front cart, but here she is walking very nicely, a little compromised, and here she is swimming with her family. So the point here is that this dog ended up going home with our friend Monica, the vet tech, falling in love with Monica's cousin and moving to Spain. This dog travels between Europe and the US when there's not a pandemic, and she has a beautiful life. She gives to her people and they give her love that no other dog, many other dogs don't ever know. Okay, why is this doing this? Okay, so veterinarians' role in supporting special needs or disabled pets. Vets can learn and understand basic care and potential for medical issues for a variety of disabilities. Here's a little dog that had 2 fractured front legs that were becoming infected, were not going to heal, and the choice was either to euthanize or to take her legs off. This is Cora Rose. She belongs to Zach Scow, who is the founder of Marley's Mutts out in California. And here she is currently with no front legs. We're going to get back to her after, but so when veterinarians understand the potential, they might guide people differently and offer alternatives to euthanasia. I keep a list, and I suggest that other vets keep a list of rescue and support groups that might be willing to accept animals from breeders who need to surrender them. And also resources, other resources for clients with ongoing support. There are all sorts of online Facebook groups and Yahoo chat groups that support people who have animals with disabilities and other illnesses. Respecting clients who want to devote that kind of time and making them feel valued is important. Clients with disabled animals are usually happy to be a referral source for others that come in with the same kind of situation. So I get a lot of people contacting me for advice about how to care for a deaf or blind dog, a deaf blind dog, deaf dog, blind dog. I'm also a veterinarian, and I try to help whoever contacts me, sending them to other resources. So there's a nice network. Of course, if there's an animal that just is not going to do well for a variety of reasons, then it's the veterinarian's responsibility to recommend euthanasia. Okay, so disabilities and special needs at a glance. There are congenital defects that the animals are born with. Here's a little dog, Opie, who has his front feet are backwards. And this dog was found on, some people were selling puppies on the side of the road, and they saw him, the women saw him and fell in love and had to have him. So there are congenital limb deformities, there are missing limbs, hearing and vision deficits, neurologic diseases or conditions. Brachycephalic syndrome comes with all sorts of disabilities and special needs dogs. And then there are metabolic diseases that are inherited or animals are born with. There are acquired disabilities due to injury, infectious disease, cancer causing limb amputation or other parts need to be removed, and then rehab. Systemic illness like diabetes and heart failure and aging causes all sorts of problems. Some are progressive and some are non-progressive. So disabilities result in special needs and the need for accommodations. Here is a list of accommodations that people might provide their own animals. This is, and I can read the list, you can read the list as well, but harnesses, slings, special feeding techniques, expressing bladder and bowel, diapers, wheels, sunglasses, rehab, laser therapy, special training, sign language for deaf dogs, taps for deaf-blind dogs, and an extra time commitment. This is Bagel. She is Sunglass Cat. You can find her on Instagram. She was born without eyelids. There's no reason she shouldn't have a very happy, productive life. So she does. Her mom puts eye drops in her eyes every day. She wears sunglasses to protect her eyes since she can't really blink. And her message to children and others is it's okay to look and be different. So here's a pretend poll just to take a little break. There is no poll, so I'm not going to know what you say, but if I did run a poll, I would say how many currently have or in the past have cared for a disabled pet? How many are interested in adopting a special needs pet? How many are inspired to adopt a disabled pet? I'm sorry. How many are inspired to adopt by a disabled pet on social media platforms? And here is a little nose for everybody to see and sing happy birthday to anyone whose birthday is today or this week. Probably you've never seen a nose work like this if you don't have a deaf or blind dog, deaf-blind dog. This is a nose that works constantly, even when he's sleeping. You can see the dog's nose is quite an organ. Okay, so we're going to get started here with double Merle and dapple breeding. Piglet is a double dapple dachshund Chihuahua mix, so I am, of course, very interested in this situation, which is unfortunate, intentional or non-intentional. Some people just don't know that it's going to happen when you breed a Merle to Merle. This is a dachshund who is dapple colored or Merle. It's called Merle in Australian Shepherds and other herding breeds. It's called Harlequin and Great Danes. So when you breed two Merle color pattern dogs together, there's a 25% chance that each puppy will receive the dominant Merling gene. And when you get two of those, the dogs tend to be white or mostly white, and they have congenital eye and ear defects. Many are euthanized by veterinarians because breeders don't want them, and many are turned over to rescue groups, and many are dumped. So double Merle and dapple eye and ear defects, it's basically collie eye anomaly. And here's Piglet modeling what double dapple or double Merle eyes might look like. So he's got microphthalmia. His third eyelids come up over his small eyes, and they point downward. His pupils inside, he's got retinal damage and the whole gamut of abnormal eye structures that did not develop properly. In the ear, he's got beautiful ears that don't work. The lining, there's a lack of pigment in the lining of the ear prevents cilia development, which leads to bilateral or unilateral deafness. So here's a double Harlequin Dane called Enzo. He was bought from a breeder in Europe. Unknown to the people that were buying him was that he is deaf, he's white, he has very abnormal eyes, as you can see. He actually had third eyelid surgery to remove the third eyelids that were covering his eyes. He can see, but he is deaf. And they love him so much, they went and got another one from the same breeder. Go figure. This is a double Merle, Australian Shepherd Border Collie mix that happens to be my dog. She is Gina. She was dumped, as happens to some. She was probably bred in by a backyard breeder down in Georgia. And she came up here, having been in the same rescue that rescued Piglet, with severe anxiety. She can hear in one ear only, which is very difficult for dogs because they can't place the sound. So that creates a lot of anxiety for this dog, where she can't find me. So if she walks into the room and I'm sitting behind a table and I call to her, she'll go and look in the other direction. She is on a leash when we are not in a fenced area, because when I call to her, she will hear me, but she will 100% of the time run in the opposite direction of where I am unless she can see me, which she can't if she's not facing me. Let's see. So here he is, Piglet, the deafblind pink puppy. He was born in a hoarding situation in Georgia. He's 3.5 years old now. He was rescued by Dr. Gloria Andrews, who's a shelter veterinarian and founder of Colbert Veterinary Rescue Services. She contacted me and said, asked if I knew someone who would be a good fit for him, a little blind, 1 pound, probably deaf puppy. And I said no, but in a flash, I realized that he was meant to be fostered by me and my family. So I let my husband know that we now had a new foster project by an email saying foster project with a question mark. He was brought up to Connecticut a few days after that email. I figured how much trouble could a 1 pound puppy be? And I was very interested in learning about and meeting a deaf and blind dog. And I even had plans to adopt one at some point in the future when some of my other dogs weren't here anymore. In the meantime, he came up here screaming at the top of his lungs, literally for months, 2 months. And with severe anxiety, he was very engaging, very smart, very playful, but he did scream a lot. Thankfully, he was very cute. He slept in our laps. He was one of these dogs that you had no choice but to fall in love with, but we were very disciplined at that time, and we were very determined to find him his own forever home. He, on the other hand, had other plans for us, and he knew he was already home. And that's a common story, I think, more commonly even with a profoundly disabled dog like this. We have fostered others and sent them on their merry way, but this one was staying. So he stayed, and I promised myself that I was not going to have another lap dog and that Piglet would have a productive, meaningful life. And initially that meant that he would fundraise for special needs dog rescues. We would support them and advocate for special needs dogs. And we started off with selling little phone case wallets like this, which say Piglet the Deafblind Pink Puppy on them. Moved into t-shirts, which I'm wearing one of. And we've raised a lot of money selling Piglet merch. In the meantime, we had to deal with him in our house, and living with Piglet is not necessarily something many would want to do because he's very needy and he requires a great deal of attention and time and energy. But when he first came, the first thing we needed to do was to connect with him because he was so upset. And we had little Susie laying with him. The other dogs would play with him, and we would hold him a lot. We held him as much as we could. We held him, and that created a very nice bond and connection with him. He was very young at the time. He probably wasn't even 8 weeks old when he arrived, and he was 1.5 pounds. So over the time until we actually agreed to adopt him, I taught him tap signals, which once that clicked with him that I was going to touch him and it meant something, it was relatively smooth sailing and communicating with him. So we keep him safe. We supervise him with the other dogs. I use a harness and a leash for guidance, especially when we're out in new places. We keep the house relatively stable, although he is able to adapt to changes. He learned to come up the back stairs. He knows how to, he maps his way in using ground coverings and his nose to track into the back, to the bottom of the stairs. And after a period of adjustment, we all just kind of know what to do with him. So here is Piglet demonstrating his tap signals. So you can see him tracking to the back, the slate on the bottom, and then he kind of lines himself up, goes up the stairs, finds the doormat, does a little twisty dance, and then waits for me to open the door. Okay, let's see. And now this one. We do group work with our dogs, and Piglet is part of the group. So he has his own way to communicate with him, and the other I speak to, obviously. So Piglet was told to stay by giving him a tap on his nose, and now I'm telling him to come. Okay. So Piglet, in addition to learning the taps and the mapping and everything else, he's a very smart dog, and he uses his brain to engage his sense of smell, touch, taste, proprioception, ESP, to confidently maneuver his world. He is not left out of anything. He knows when I'm leaving the house. He knows when the other dogs are barking. He knows pretty much everything. He knows who's walking into the room. So he's a lot of fun to have around, and I find him interesting. Every single day there's something new, and the novelty of Piglet has still not worn off after 3 years. So this video shows his latest trick, which is more complicated than just telling him to sit, obviously. So we tell him to go to your bed by giving him this little squeeze over the top of him. He's very small, and there he is sitting on his bed. And he holds his head up in the air, as many blind dogs do, but he's expecting a cookie. And then, let's see. Oh, shoot. Oh, no. I have to go back. Here is another latest trick. I hope you can see it. He knows to wait and leave his food without eating it until I tell him okay. And that was very difficult, and he's got Zoe there with him. The two of them are eating together, and then I tell her okay, and I give him a tap for okay. The other thing about Piglet is he's got friends. He recognizes them by smelling their breath, and he's a very entertaining dog for his social media friends. So here he is with his BFF, girlfriend Monica, when he met her for the first time outside after not seeing her for 3 months as we were quarantining. So he does not like face masks. He wants them off. As you can see him trying to get to her face because he wants to smell her breath, give her kisses. And he also goes down her shirt because when he first met her, he was screaming and she put him down her shirt and he went to sleep, and that's how they initially met. Okay, so Piglet has worldwide reach. He has a mission, which I'm going to read, which is to advocate for and support rescued animals through education and fundraising, inspire and motivate others to adopt special needs pets, facilitate Piglet mindset educational outreach to teachers, students, and others in the community, encourage acceptance, inclusion, empathy, and kindness through the example of Piglet's Inclusion Pack. That's our 6 dogs who include him and accept him despite his differences. And he puts a smile on faces all around the world. So here he educates and advocates for disabled animals and people through his social media pages. Here's his Facebook page and his Instagram page. We do veterinary public service announcements on these pages since I am a veterinarian. We share ideas, we field questions about special needs pets and other veterinary related topics. He's entertaining. We network and support other organizations focused on special needs pets and people. And we do a lot of fundraising. Here are some of our fundraising merchandise. We have stickers and magnets. We have 6, I think, designs of t-shirts, and we have 6 face masks. These are his social media, Instagram, Facebook, and his website. So Piglet Mindset is the last part of Piglet that I'm going to talk about, and that is our educational outreach program that was thankfully initiated by a Facebook comment that I read from a teacher in Massachusetts who was going to use Piglet's videos to teach her class growth mindset. So we ended up collaborating. I made her PowerPoint presentations to show the kids. We corresponded throughout the year. I sent them various Piglet merchandise. They sent Piglet cards and holiday gifts. And at the end of the year, we went to visit the class with a huge surprise for the kids who thought they would be FaceTiming with us. That initial interaction turned into a full program of downloadable educational materials that are on Piglet's website. I enjoy collaborating and corresponding with the teachers and classes that use Piglet and Piglet Mindset with their kids to teach growth mindset, acceptance, inclusion, empathy, and kindness. And I send them stickers, magnets, personal greetings. We can do virtual visits now, or we hopefully will be making classroom visits at some time soon. This picture up here shows kids that are wearing Piglet shirts. That shirt was used by a teacher in Alabama for her Piglet Mindset Ambassador of the Week, and all the kids voted for who was the exemplary student of the week, who was kind to others and faced challenges with positive attitude. We have a nonprofit now called Piglet International Inc., quite a big name for something that supports our educational work as well as dog rescue work that we continue to do, raising money, that sort of thing. So moving into all these special needs friends and family that we have on Instagram and Facebook and other social media. Here is, and my goal is to show everybody a number of different disabilities, how these dogs function, and how the people take care of them. So these are double dapple dachshunds taken care of by 2 women who I met in California who are both deaf. They teach their dogs elaborate hand signals for come forward and go into the car. So this is one of their dogs who knows she's about to go for a ride in the car. Deafness in dogs and cats is commonly associated with white coloring, which you can read about because I don't want to go into all that right now. But cats, here's a little white cat who happens to be deaf, who was in a rescue waiting to be adopted and was. Double Merle, we already discussed. And then acquired deafness, there are many reasons that dogs and cats become deaf. Deaf pets respond to hand signals. Many people use American Sign Language with their dogs. They learn it, they enjoy using it. Deaf dogs need to be kept safe, obviously, because they can't hear a danger call. Some people use vibrating collar to get the dog's attention. Dogs can participate in all sorts of activities. Here is Keller from Keller's Cause, which is a nonprofit that concentrates on rescuing double Merle deaf and blind dogs. If you noticed when she came around, she kind of lost her mom for a second and then knew to look to be signaled to the next obstacle for the jump. So blind pets, there's many, many reasons for blindness in dogs and cats. Cataracts, double Merle, we've already discussed. Collie eye anomaly. Acquired blindness comes from a whole number of reasons: inflammatory disease, viral injury, cancer, progressive retinal atrophy, and so on. Here's a picture of a cataract, courtesy Dr. Travis Strong, a vegan veterinarian on Instagram. So blind pets can hear instructions and tone of voice. They need to be kept safe, obviously, because they can fall downstairs if they're not familiar with where they are. Gates and doors are very important. Once they've mapped, there are dogs that go swimming. There are dogs that know how to get in the car from inside the house. And they're very, very well adapted to their environments. They use their senses of hearing, touch, and smell to maneuver in their environment. Varied ground coverings help blind dogs, especially older dogs, when they're learning to be, if there's a mat where their food dishes are on, or differences between smooth floors and carpeting. It helps them to learn where they are and to recognize where they are. This is Louie the blind cat on Instagram. He was born blind, probably in utero uveitis secondary to a maternal virus that led to endothelial dystrophy. So this is blind dog Blink, Agility. He is from Paw Savers Rescue in Columbus, who was the sponsor of the Special Canine Games. He is using her voice and his nose to figure out where to go through these agility equipment. And there he goes. So this is Noah. He is blind and he has very, very deformed back legs. He was born that way and surrendered to a rescue by a poodle breeder. He uses wheels when he's out and about because he gets around much easier. He uses a Muffin's halo to keep him from bumping into things when he's in unfamiliar territory, but at home he doesn't need that. So Muffin's Halo is a group that wants to make it easier for blind dogs to be adopted. So they sell these halos to people, but they also donate them to rescue groups that have blind dogs. Cerebellar hypoplasia is another common disability found in dogs and cats. It varies in severity. It's non-progressive. The animals need to be kept safe because they're off balance. They do very well with physical therapy as they gain strength, and which helps with their coordination. So here is Josh the Doodle. He is a severe case of cerebellar hypoplasia. Many people would say, why would anyone keep a dog like this? And the reason people keep a dog like this is this. Here he is in his cart walking down the street. This is a cart from Eddie's Wheels. It's a quad cart, which he did not like in the beginning, but he's gotten used to. Josh is a very, very popular dog on Instagram. His mom created Be Like Josh Foundation, which is a nonprofit that focuses on special needs animals, raising awareness, and educating adults and children about the beauty of special abilities. Josh has many, many fans, and he visits schools to talk about disabilities being different. This is the other end of the spectrum of cerebellar hypoplasia, although if you look at this dog, this is Twain from Perfect Imperfections in Connecticut, special needs dog rescue. He is like, kamikaze, flipping himself all around. And some people would say, how is this dog ever going to function? But with physical therapy and a lot of care, oops. Here he is as an adult dog. That's him in the middle there. And clearly he's having a very fine life, living with a lot of dogs up in Connecticut. So next up, brachycephalic breeds, bulldog rescue, road dogs, which is a rescue in California that takes puppies that have hydrocephalus and other brachycephalic, unfortunate congenital defects, which unfortunately they are bred to have in many cases. It's become normalized, which is and accepted by the general public. People buy these dogs, support this, which in many cases could be considered abuse. So these are some of the defects that these dogs are born with: hydrocephalus, short spine, spina bifida, cleft palate, and limb deformities. The dogs are taken in by the rescue, and they will do whatever they can to give them as happy and comfortable and loving life as possible for as long as they can. So this dog is Matilda. She was very, very tiny when she was adopted. She was treated with prednisone for 8 weeks. Many of the hydrocephalus puppies only last for 16 weeks. Suddenly they just deteriorate. The average lifespan for a dog with hydrocephalus like this is 2 to 3 years. So here is Matilda as a baby. And again, people would say, why would someone want to keep this dog? You know, she's so abnormal. And this is the reason right here. Here she is. She's a great dog. She's a couple of years old now, and she has a wonderful life with a very, very beautiful family that cares so much about her. Her brother, their other dog, Monty, just passed away recently after 3.5 years. And I don't think you could get her mom to say she was sorry she's adopted either of these dogs, even with the potential for a very short lifespan. Cleft palate and lip. This is Big Rig, the baby, on Instagram. And here he is as a puppy with his funny nose and palate, but he's sweet and he's got a great home too. They can feed him special consistency food to help the food go down and not get stuck and cause respiratory infections. Okay. So dogs and cats in wheelchairs. Intervertebral disc disease. Here's a whole list of indications for wheelchairs. Maintenance of the wheelchair dogs include keeping them clean, expressing bladders and bowels, drag bags, safety, keeping them away from stairs when they're in these their wheels, and chronic complications are chronic resistant UTIs, ulcers, pressure sores, sensitive skin, and scraping. Here are a group of dogs that are online as at Little Miss Lexi. This is Mary and Tom. They adopt and take care of wheelchair dogs since 2009. This is Oscar. He was found under the Williamsburg Bridge in New York City. He was adopted by Rick, who is the organizer of Wheels on Wall Street, the fundraiser that I mentioned earlier. Oscar is an amazing dog. He is very, very old now. He's been sick with this and that, and he continues on. And look at how proud he is in his wheels, which he didn't like in the beginning. This is him when he was found. That's his animal control, New York City animal control picture when he was on death row. Here is Rocky on wheels. He is a little cat who was dropped when he was 1 week old. His mom says adopting him is like having a cat with chronic illness that requires maintenance. He just started out that way. Okay, so here is Rocky. Go fast now because I'm running out of time. Here's Rocky, and he has an amazing life, obviously. He climbs, he goes up the stairs. He doesn't like his cart, so he just shimmies around. There he goes. Okay. So spina bifida is another reason for wheelchair dogs. This is Melody, Miss Melly too, on Instagram. Her mom started boxersonwheels.com, and they support others with other boxers that need wheels. She also created a sling to go into the wheels. Melly had her back legs amputated because they were in the way and causing her problems. So her mom created a sling to keep her in in the wheels because she was falling out without her back leg. So this is her with a prosthetic that she enjoys much more than the wheels. And it's sort of like a fin on the back of her. And she just moseys about, happy as could be. Her mom knows that she's very prone to urinary tract infections and could have a shortened lifespan. Forelimb deformities in dogs are common. Here is a little dog learning to, this is also Mary working with her dog, learning to use the front wheels. The front wheels are much harder for the dogs to learn, apparently. Here is Lexi, who was an expert at this. So she was found on Craigslist and surrendered to a rescue. She was a therapy dog, and as you can see, amazing little extraordinary dog. Congenital defects are common in Chihuahuas. So here are Lovey Loeb's dogs. This is a rescue down in Florida, and the dogs are do very well in and out of wheels. So this dog was adopted. He this video, and he did get wheels for his front end to get around easier. Here are a couple of their ambassador dogs that live with in the rescue. They're their dogs, and they take them to schools and other places to advocate for people and animals with disabilities. Abused and injured dogs is obviously very common. And here is Maggie. She is from Lebanon, shot in the face, came to live in England with her mom, who has hundreds and thousands of followers on her Instagram page, Maggie the Wonder Dog. She advocates, she has a book, she goes into schools, she goes into nursing homes. She's just an amazing dog, and I would highly recommend following her. She has a bunch of verbal cues for stepping up, stepping down, going left, going right. And Maggie's mom didn't have enough with one very disabled dog. She also adopted Millie, who was found in a wood pile when she was 3 months old with her face basically stomped on. So Millie has a very severe facial deformity. She does not have a nose. She is very prone to respiratory infections. Her tongue hangs out. Her mom understands that. Millie is a very happy puppy. She eats well. She eats on her own. She drinks water with the help of just raising her dishes. And here she is chewing up paper. So here's a double amputee, which I mentioned earlier and already talked about the amputation of Cora Rose's legs. Here she is hopping along. And who would imagine that you can have a dog with only 2 legs walking like a person? Happy as can be, and quite an advocate for others. Here is Dante. He looked like he was going to be a disabled dog because he was found in the road down in the south and was fixed, but the fix didn't work very well, and he was in a lot of pain. So when he came up north and had the pins removed that were poking into his muscles, this is what he turned into. So someone had the foresight to help him. Metabolic diseases, inherited conditions, mucopolysaccharidosis is, these dogs rarely live more than a couple of years. They end up with all sorts of complications. This is a typical appearance with a short nose, large hanging tongue, and big floppy feet. Poor muscle control. And this is Lemon, the real Lemon Pancake, who was adopted by a vet tech who takes very good care of her. She loves her. She takes her everywhere. This is a very special dog who has progressive disease, but she's living at the moment a very happy life and will until she can't anymore. She goes to physical therapy, which helps her keep muscle strength as much as she can. Okay. So this is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a genetic defect causing abnormal production of collagen. The skin loses elasticity. And this is Toby. He is Tummy and Gummy on Instagram. He lives in the UK, and he has a very mild case. It only affects his skin. They keep his skin clean. They give him antihistamines and vitamin C. He wears protective clothing, and he's a very happy boy. So if they live long enough, most dogs and cats will become disabled at some point in their lives, which I have talked about already. So moving through, because I'm running out of time, this is Zoe, a dog that I took care of years ago, who taught me that big dogs can go into wheelchairs. And I'm very, very happy that I encouraged and helped them, and they wanted to and decided to go ahead and put her in a cart for the last 6 months of her life when she could not walk anymore. So I'm now a big advocate for using carts if possible and the setting is right. So why support pets with disabilities and their people? I think we've explained it very well, seeing all of these examples. I'm going to pass through the videos to get to the conclusion so that I don't run out of time. But here's the conclusion, which I'm going to read. Caring for a disabled pet requires commitment that I can't see. That exceeds average pet responsibilities. The rewards are overwhelming. Disabled pets inspire others to face their own challenges with a very positive attitude. Disabled pets advocate for disabled people and animals. They set an example for children to accept, include, be empathetic, and kind. People who are committed to disabled pets want and expect open-minded, high-level, and sometimes creative veterinary care. Disabled pets and their people appreciate positive encouragement and support from their veterinarians. And veterinarians who are open to learning about caring for disabled pets can enjoy being part of something very, very special. Here is my piglet, and here's the end. This is a group of rescues and resources that I keep then in my network that I send people to and ask questions of when I have them. And I hope other veterinarians will do the same. Okay, these are my dogs also, my 6 dogs plus piglet. Okay, questions?
Thank you so much, Dr. Shapiro. That was a really great presentation. I am going to get right to the questions because we have quite a few. One of the questions is, how do you not become angry with breeders producing repeatedly disabled puppies?
How do you not become angry? I think there's a lot of anger, and it's just a matter of doing what you have to do. The rescues, like the road dogs people, they have no choice. They can take the dogs or they can let them dump the dogs. So they take them in, and what they do is they educate the public, and they try to educate breeders not to keep breeding dogs that are disabled. So when the public wakes up and says, we are buying and encouraging abuse of animals, then things will improve. Now, it's a very complicated issue because we all know that bulldogs, as we're using that as an example here, are great dogs. Everybody loves them. People that have them want more. So people need to kind of come around to figuring out, and veterinarians do play a big part in this, how we are going to fix brachycephalic dogs. And I know that the HSVMA, there is a committee, which I'm not sure where we are with that at the moment, that's working on trying to help the breeders decrease the incidence of these problems. So by working with people, you improve the situation. By being angry and just expressing your anger, that just gets you no place. It's not productive.
How can you politely deflect the euthanasia talk from a medical professional when you know it's coming from their personal opinion, not a medical opinion?
Oh, you mean as a client?
I believe so, yes.
Oh, okay, so, I think that you listen, and then if you're not in agreement with what they're telling you, or you think that there's more for someone to tell you, then you find another veterinarian. Because unless the vet that's telling you is really telling you what you need to know. Sometimes people, I know I speak to people and I think they need to euthanize their dog or cat. And I have to figure out how to get them to come around to that but it's all subjective. I mean, some people want to have their animals die naturally. And I personally would never want my animals to die naturally unless it was very peaceful. And I'm not going to watch mine, so everyone has their own endpoints and their own philosophy about these things. So you do need, when you are working with a veterinarian in such an emotionally charged situation, you need to find someone who is on the same page as you. So if you're not finding that with one, there are plenty of others that you can reach out to and see if somebody else can kind of be, more interact with you in a way that you're more comfortable with.
Thank you. Next question is, what is the largest dog you've seen successfully use a cart or wheels?
I actually have not seen that many. That boxer was the biggest one, but online you can see plenty more. So, I was really skeptical about putting big dogs in carts until I started seeing, until I saw Zoe, but I've been a veterinarian for a long time, and no one ever wanted to do it. And part of the reason is that in a house, the dog has to be able to get around. So it's hard for a gigantic dog like that to drag themselves around compared to a little dachshund, say, that you put in a drag bag in the house. So there's a logistics issue. And also getting the dog in and out of a big dog in and out of a cart is very difficult. So you've got to have manpower to lift those dogs. Josh the Doodle looks big. He's only 30 pounds. So they can lift him in and out. But once you start getting into those really big dogs, it does become a logistical problem for most people. And I think that's one of the limitations. But I've only seen a 65-pound boxer do very, very well. Others, I'm sure.
One of our other questions was from a viewer who has a disabled dog, an 8-month-old German Shepherd, they're about to get a wheelchair for. And they recommended, they wanted to know your recommendations for assisting her in getting into that chair, but you've already kind of spoke to that. Do you know of any groups off the top of your head that she could go to for a resource?
Oh, that's a really good question. Well, depending on where they are, some of these groups that I actually have listed on here that provide wheelchairs have a lot of advice. And, working with your veterinarian to lead you to somebody that you can work with to get the dog into the chair is probably the best resource. And then I'm trying to think, depending on the size of the dog, Lubby Loaves down in Florida, they take care of dogs in wheelchairs, but they're usually small dogs. So depending on who you're talking, or you said it's a German Shepherd. So I would work with the people that are supplying the wheelchair because they know how to get those dogs in and out, and they know how to acclimate them to the wheelchairs.
Great, thank you. Next question is, did you find that your pack of dogs helped or hindered Piglet's learning curve while adjusting to your home?
Well, actually, we talk about this very frequently. Our dogs, I don't know how we did it, because my husband is responsible for some of these dogs. We have an amazing dog pack. They get along very, very well. They lay together, they travel together, they take walks together. And when Piglet came in, they didn't all react to him the same way, but they all sort of came together to accept him in. Susie, the little gray one, is very nurturing. She would lay with him when we would call to her and say, Susie, please come lay with him because we can't hold him anymore. We can't stand the screaming anymore. Zoe, they each interact with him differently, is my point. Zoe, the little brown one, plays with him very rough. They're the same size, so it works very well for them. Gina, who can be very rough on the other dogs, she doesn't like when they bark, is so nice to Piglet and very tolerant of him. Dean ignores him because he's not always very nice to Dean. Annie and Evie are very, very rough and play with him, but what they all have in common, which is really, really important, is that they are very tolerant of Piglet in that he bangs into them and he can't see them. So he bangs into them, and it's startling sometimes when they're outside laying in the grass relaxing and he's running around and he smacks into them. He's very small, he's only 6 pounds, so he's not hurting them, but some dogs might turn around and just give it to him, and they don't. They also know when we're in a group, you know, that he's going to be there in the middle. He pushes his way through to the front. They're very accepting of him, and they know that he's different, and they really set a very nice example for others. But no, none of them hindered him. In fact, he loves to work in the group, and when I take him to events and places, he can go alone with me, but he really does enjoy when a couple of the other dogs come along and they do their group work together.
How did you come up with the communication technique of blowing towards Piglet to get his attention?
Oh, I actually saw somebody else doing that, and I can't remember who it was. One of my deafblind dog friends, and I wish I could remember to give them credit for it, but I saw them doing it, and it took him a while to figure that meant to come, versus just like luring him with my fingers underneath his chin. But once he learned it, he does come when we blow to him, which is extremely adorable. And I don't know how practical it is. I mean, we're just doing tricks with him, and I think it's nice for him to interact with whatever we're doing with him, and to have different stimuli and input. So it is good for him, but it doesn't serve any kind of practical purpose.
Do you find that Piglet has a harder time tracking things, say when it's rained outside, or if there's something outside that's very strong, a very strong smell like smoke?
You know, we haven't had smoke, but when it snows, he has a much more difficult time because there's snow on the ground. And I don't know that maybe snow doesn't hold the track as well as the ground. I don't know. When it's really, really raining, he does have more trouble finding his way in, but that may also be because it's raining and he's getting his feet wet and he doesn't like that. But definitely weather affects his tracking ability. Absolutely.
What is your travel radius for going to schools in person? And how can somebody contact you to be either an in-person visitor or to do a Zoom lecture?
Okay, well, at the moment, we are doing only virtual. We're not going into any schools because of the coronavirus. So we are very accessible, and the email to send an inquiry is to pinkpigletpuppy@gmail.com. The website is pigletmindset.org, and you can go there, and there's contact information on there as well. So pigletmindset.org or pinkpigletpuppy@gmail.com. So I have documents that I'll send out to teachers that are inquiring. The radius for travel, I did go down to Pennsylvania. It was a 3-hour trip last winter, right before the pandemic. And they put me up in a hotel. The night before, we went in the morning and did 2 presentations to 250 kids each. In this whole school got to meet Piglet and see my presentation. We were going to go to Alabama also in March, but then the pandemic came. So we didn't go there, but we're willing to do pretty much anything. We need sponsorship. We do have our nonprofit now, and I am raising money to defray the costs, and depending on situation. So, you know, each individual case as an individual.
When a client comes in with a disabled pet to your clinic, do you have a particular quality of life discussion with them, or do you have a questionnaire that you go through in order to kind of assess their quality of life?
You know, I don't. Some people do, some vets do. The quality of life evaluations that I do generally are on older animals, and that most of the time I'm going to their house. And I just have a discussion. Most of the people are calling me there because they want my opinion. And I find that I give them a lot of relief to their worries. You know, I look at their older dogs that can't walk anymore. I point things out to them. We discuss, criteria criteria for their feelings about a good quality of life for their own animal, because they are the ultimate judge of whether their dogs or cats are having a good quality of life, unless it's blatant and obvious that they're really like in denial. But there is a website called the Association for Pet Loss and Bereavement. So it's aplb.org, and there is a quality of life scale on that website. I tend not to use the numbers on that scale, but I do have people look at it for ideas about, to think about when they're watching their older animals, and it could be any age animal. If it's disabled, you know, to think about the quality of life. But, you know, and I give my personal opinion, of course.
You've done this a little bit previously, but are there any support groups for special needs pets that you particularly recommend?
I don't really, I tend to know about the rescue groups that I work with, you know, just network with and am in contact with, but I know there's a blind dog rescue, a blind dog support group on Facebook. I don't have any that I am particularly involved with, but I would just, you can Google or go on Facebook and search whatever the disability that you're looking for is, you'll find it. So there's a double, I should say that there's a double dapple, Life with the Double Dappled Dachshund. That's one of the groups that I have going on Facebook. I know the blind dog support group. I can't remember the exact name. I should have put those on here. And then the road dogs people, you know, that they certainly can point people to support for the brachycephalic and hydrocephalus dogs. So the MIA Foundation works with cleft palate and cleft lip dogs. And yeah, so I would search them for what you're looking for and you will find them.
I used to work with quite a few people who were in the group Tripods, pods spelled PAWDS. And I know that's for dogs who've undergone amputations. Thank you so much, Dr. Shapiro. I think that wraps things up for tonight.
Okay, good. All right, I'm gonna just give one more quick. Here he is.
Hi, Piglet.
Piglet, you're out of focus over here because the light is on. Let me see. There he is. There he is. If anyone has any questions, feel free to email.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.